Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Define Disaster. This is Battlefield 4. In today's video, we're going to be talking about sniper tactics, how to be a more effective sniper both for your team and for yourself. Now, before we get into the different considerations that you should be making to improve your sniper gameplay in today's video, quick shout out to Samet Rahman for the video suggesting, as well as all of you guys that subscribe to my channel in response to my weapon showdown concerning the best sniper rifles in Battlefield 4. And I know quite a few of you have subscribed specifically in response to that video. With that being said though, let's start with what we're discussing today, because there is quite a lot to becoming a more effective sniper. I should mention I am not the best sniper there is out there, but I'm certainly going to be able to give you some kind of tips or pointers for players less familiar with sniping in Battlefield 4. Now, while almost all sniper rifles are actually competent weapons in Battlefield 4, there are two in particular you're going to want to avoid. And the reason for this is that their minimum damage is so low that at certain distances you won't actually be getting a one-shot headshot kill, which can be quite detrimental to any sniper, given that that's pretty much what you're reliant on in most situations and in most combat. And those two sniper rifles to stay away from are the Scout Elite and the FYJS. Sniper rifles, however, that you may want to consider choosing as your preferred sniper rifle are the JNG90, SRR61, M98B, or the CSLR4. Alternatively, you may also be a big fan of the Gold Magnum. All of these are amongst the better or best sniper rifles in Battlefield 4, and certainly the ones I usually end up picking when sniping myself. Now, with you having chosen your sniper rifle, you may want to be choosing your scope, and generally you're going to want to rely on either an 8x or a 3.4/4x scope. In my opinion, that's the scopes I prefer to use, and the reason is generally, first of all, you're going to want to stick with similar scopes all the time. You don't want to have to be switching scopes too often, because it'll generally lead to kind of you not being able to get used to the scopes and what you're seeing, what you're not seeing, as well as distance judgment. All this is very important, which is why you want to generally stick with similar scopes on all guns. My recommendation would be the 3.4 Prisma scope for the more close medium range engagements with sniper rifles if you want something not quite as high magnification, and the standard 8x scope for any other situations. If you're really such a long range sniper, you can always slap on the enhanced 14x zoom as accessory. That's called the variable zoom if you really need that extra magnification. When it comes to attachments to sniper rifles, besides the optic, accessories, well, there's nothing here that really makes too much sense. I know some people like to slap on the variable zoom. You may also want to put on a rangefinder. It doesn't really help that much. Not really important. The same way a barrel in sniping in Battlefield 4 really should just be left alone. There's no reason to put anything on here. Certainly not a suppressor. You're just going to kill your muzzle velocity. So in my opinion, normal standard barrel is the way to go with sniping in Battlefield 4. And auxiliary is of course going to be the straight pull, significantly reducing your reload times, because you can start reloading, rechambering your gun when already aiming down sight that is still with your scope engaged. And that's very useful. The bipod, on the other hand, is useless on a sniper rifle, and that's actually going to get you more likely killed using it than help you in any way, shape, or form. Now, with you having chosen your weapon and the scope as well as attachments that go with it, the next thing you're going to choose is your sidearm. And choosing an effective sidearm in Battlefield 4 for sniping is much more important than with any other class. In assault rifle cases, you usually don't have to use your sidearm too much. On the other hand, with sniping, your sidearm becomes your primary weapon in some situations, especially if you want to get close onto the objective in game modes such as Rush or Conquest, where the objective is smaller based and it's a little smaller area. You need to whip out a weapon that's going to give you some more close quarter capabilities, unless of course you're some kind of god with your sniper rifle and just go hip firing everybody down with headshots at point blank range. Now, while your choice of pistol is definitely up to you, let me make some recommendations that are more capable in close quarter situations. Of course, the G18 is pretty much going to be the king of the hill. There are, however, some alternatives that offer a little bit more range as well if you're kind of engaging slightly more medium range targets. The Deagle for something that'll put out a huge amount of damage with a one-shot headshot potential in close quarter, or something like an M1911 or Compact 45 if you're looking for something more traditional pistol-like, however with a little bit more damage than say something like a P226. Now with those pistols out the way, make sure you're comfortable with your pistol and you're able to use it frequently in close quarter to great effect. You'll see a number of clips today where I use my pistol right on top of the objective to help my team secure an MCOM in rush, for example, making me much more effective as sniper than your average douche camping somewhere out on a hill 300 meters away from any objective in any direction. Now with that being said, the last thing you may want to consider is gadgets. Now frankly, this is something really personal. A lot of people like to run tugs or spawn beacons. I frankly don't find those to be too useful. I usually run around with a motion sensor ball and C4. This allows me to engage in vehicle combat. If I can sneak up behind a tank, I can take it out. And the motion balls allow me to alert my teammates or myself of enemies in my surrounding when taking an objective. It doesn't last forever, but it certainly allows me to move up on a point, securely knowing where my enemies are at any point in time. Now with the actual kind of rough basics of what to use as sniper being covered, let's move on to how to actually put this equipment to good use. Now the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to actual tactics and gameplay itself is lead. Be that horizontal or vertical, it's something you can only really acquire with quite a lot of practice. So you're either going to need insane skills, a hell of a lot of luck, or quite a few hours of time to put into your sniping with said dedicated sniper rifle. It usually helps if you keep to the same few sniper rifles and they have similar muzzle velocities as well as muzzle drops, because otherwise you may get a little bit confused between the different rifles and end up not actually mastering the lead on any of them. If you want to speed up this process, you could technically also go on a test range where you'll find some moving targets that are actually set to speeds of players walking or sprinting. You can then of course use the rangefinder or the actual distance tag that these targets have to work out how much you would actually have to lead at a given distance. Now this in my opinion is only semi-helpful, because unless you're using a rangefinder and checking your distance all the time, you're not going to know exactly how far away your target is. So I prefer to do it the old school way and just spend enough time playing the game until I kind of get a feel for how much I have to lead with my sniper rifle. When it comes to vertical lead, that is aiming above your target's head at longer distances to still get your headshot, calculating for the bullet drop of your sniper rifle, things are a little bit more simpler, and there's two ways to deal with this. You can either zero your scope to the set distance, that is use a rangefinder to find your target is at say 300 meters, 200 meters, and then zero out your scope to roughly that distance, allowing you to just place your shot right on their head and expect to get your headshot. Or you can do it the old school way without zeroing your scope and just roughly estimate by how much you're going to have to put it above their heads. For a general rule of thumb, it's about 1.5 meters for every 100 meters. Now, given that your scope in Battlefield 4 is zeroed out to 100 meters already, this means that you would have to aim 1.5 meters above your enemy's head if your scope is zeroed at 100 meters at a target 200 meters away from you. To take this to the example of a target 300 meters away from you, that would then be 3 meters, etc, etc. Now, while you may not be sitting there with a ruler and trying to measure exactly how far you're going to have to put it above your head, once more, this is a case of simple practicing, and after a while, you will get the hang of it, that's for certain. Now next up, let's talk about shots and targets. When to take your shot, when to take a target, which targets are ideal. Many people seem to think that sniping is all about one bullet, one kill, one reward, and that's not really the case in Battlefield 4. You're more welcome to kind of take a few more risky shots, maybe get a body shot in between that'll either count as assist, counts as kill, or help your teammate at least down that enemy when they come across them, than to not take your shot at all. You're not really in danger of being discovered out there 100 meters from your target or even 50 meters. A sniper usually isn't quite the front line. Even if they're playing medium range as an aggressive recon, you should not be right in your enemy's face, unless of course you're running with your pistol, something like a G18, and then of course the situation is a little bit different. So feel free to take those shots. It doesn't matter if you miss them. You've got plenty of ammunition, and you're more likely to help your team in doing that, either by suppressing them or by even hurting your enemy and allowing a different enemy to finish them off when otherwise they wouldn't be able to. Now the best targets of course are the still targets. Targets that are prone or standing still, think they're safe, using a bipod, or fellow snipers. Why that's true, you should be careful about snipers in themselves. Snipers are your greatest enemy. or of course flanking infantry. Those are the two things you have to be most aware of as sniper, because they're the ones that can take you out. Somebody using an assault rifle 50 meters away from you is going to have a hard time killing you if you've got decent cover, versus somebody flanking you and suddenly 10 meters behind you, or a sniper seeing you out in the distance and giving you a headshot is much more likely to down you than anybody else. So always be aware of who you're engaging. If you see a group of snipers, your first reaction maybe shouldn't be to stand still and try to take a shot at them. Maybe find some cover first, scout them out, see if you can maybe even get them up from a flank, and then try to engage them from there. Speaking of flanks, positioning for a sniper is much more important than you would actually think. While yes, having a classic sniper battle one-on-one can be very amusing, it's very time consuming, wastes a bunch of ammo, and usually quite risky. With a lot of sniper battles ending with one person hurt and the other person dead, it's not the ideal situation you want to give into. There's a lot of luck in sniper battles from time to time, and that's not really what we're going for. We want skill-based results, and thus taking your enemy by surprise from the side, that is not flanking them and knifing them, that is from 50 meters or further, giving them a headshot from the side, is much better because it allows you to even miss a shot or two without them directly knowing where the shot is coming from, A, and B, if they were looking out for you, they don't see you because you're not coming right in front of them. This way you're much more likely to secure your kill, you're much more likely to remain undetected to the enemy snipers, which are the ones you should be fearing. Furthermore, there's another thing to consider when it comes to positioning. You should not be stationary. That is, during sniping, you should always be moving unless you're taking a shot, then you should be standing still, of course, only for the moment you're taking that shot, however, and you should be switching up your position on the map generally quite frequently. Once you kill 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people are going to start trying to come and get you and revenge kill you. And if you're some unlucky person, I don't know, on Goldman Railway, somewhere in Conquest, chilling out on a rock, you and your buddy, somebody's going to come along and knife you from behind, like I just love to do from time to time. You're not well suited camping as sniper. You may get the occasional kill, but eventually you're going to get killed by somebody who's pretty peeved with you camping out in the distance instead of helping your team on the objective. Now, last but not least, we have one more thing to talk about, and that is game mode. Now, sniping is very much dependent on mapping game mode, and while you can snipe on TDM, you can snipe on domination or defusal or all the other more close quarter infantry based game modes, it's not really that recommended. And frankly, also on Conquest large game mode, sniping is usually not the best thing to do. There's usually quite a few vehicles in Conquest large game modes, and you're more effective being a pioneer for your team there and getting up on all those objectives than you are a sniper. However, Conquest small and especially Rush, where there's a lot of infantry grouped up close together, however longer combat distances are more frequent, you're much better suited with a sniper rifle on those game modes. You usually can find quite a few people around the objective that are usually even standing still, and those of course are free shots for you, free kills. Anything that doesn't move should be, after a little bit of practice, relatively easy for you to hit if you've got a decent amount of aim. So I generally love to snipe, most preferably on Rush game modes, and second best is of course Conquest or Conquest large, as long as there's not too many vehicles and the engagement distances are long enough to warrant sniping. Now, with that being said about game modes and engagement distances, I would never recommend a sniper to be sniping above 300 meters. It sounds silly, yes, the sniper rifle, bolt action rifle, is still the most effective weapon there, but it's not an effective way to kill your enemy, especially if they're moving. At 300 meters, the chances of you having such a perfect lead are relatively small. Get up closer. 100 to 200 meters, in my opinion, are the best distance to snipe at. You can go all the way up to 50 meters in close quarter, and you can still be effective with sniper rifles as well. But from then on, you may want to be using something like a pistol from time to time, unless, of course, you've got this perfect piece of cover from which you're head glitching. Now, with all that being said, let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this video, about my tips and tricks guide, what you do when you're trying to be most effective with a bolt action rifle. Are you also an aggressive recon player? Get up on the objectives from time to time, use both your pistol and your main bolt action rifle in close quarter from time to time to help your team push to that next set of MCOMs on Rush, or are you more of the player that stays in the back and camps it out a little bit, looking for those perfect shots on either stationary targets such as recons or camping support players? Anyway, I'd love to hear from you down below in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video, but otherwise, I hope to see you in the next Battlefield 4 video.